Out of all the things you could do in your lifetime, these are 10 of the highest return moves that you can make. They won't guarantee success, but they'll expand your perspective, improve your health, strengthen your relationships, increase your freedom, and help you build a richer life in ways that compound over decades. So let's get to it, shall we? Welcome to Alux. Number 1. Live in another country for at least 6 months. Travel is exciting, sure, but it rarely changes you. You stay in hotels, you eat at restaurants, visit attractions, and then you go home. Living somewhere is different because eventually the vacation ends. You need to figure out where to buy groceries. You open a bank account. You learn how public transportation works. You struggle with the language. You celebrate holidays you've never heard of. You start making local friends. At some point, life becomes normal again, just in a completely different setting. That's when your perspective begins to change. Many of the things you grew up believing were just how life works turn out to be local customs. Work culture, family dynamics, education, dating, success, punctuality, even what people eat for breakfast can be completely different somewhere else. The experience also teaches humility. For the first time in years, you're now the one who doesn't understand the jokes, can't read the signs, and has an accent. You become more patient because you remember what it feels like to be the outsider. Living abroad also forces independence. Without your usual support system, every problem becomes yours to solve. You become more resourceful simply because you have to. Professionally, it can make you more valuable too. Companies increasingly operate across borders, and people who understand multiple cultures tend to communicate better, negotiate more effectively, and spot opportunities that others miss. But, perhaps the biggest change is psychological. Once you've successfully built a life somewhere completely unfamiliar, the world starts to feel much smaller. Moving cities no longer feels impossible. Changing careers feels a lot less intimidating. Starting over becomes something you've already done once before. You stop thinking of yourself as someone who belongs in one place, and you start seeing yourself as someone who can adapt almost anywhere. That confidence stays with you long after you come home. Number 2. Own productive assets. Most people spend their lives earning money. A smaller group spends their lives owning the things that produce it. That difference changes almost everything. When you work for a salary, your income depends on your time. If you stop working, the money usually stops coming in. Even a high-paying job has a ceiling because there are only so many hours in a day. A productive asset, though, works entirely differently. It continues creating value whether you're actively working or not. A rental property collects rent. A business sells products while you sleep. A share of a profitable company earns part of its profits. A piece of software can be downloaded thousands of times. A book, a patent, a popular YouTube video can keep generating income years after it was created. The important idea isn't passive income. Most productive assets still require attention. The difference is that your effort is no longer tied one-to-one with your reward. This is one of the biggest reasons wealth grows faster than income. Someone earning $100,000 a year has to keep showing up to earn the next $100,000. Someone who owns a business or a portfolio of investments may see their assets increase in value even while they're on vacation. History tells the same story, too. Many of the world's richest families have owned productive assets for generations. Farms became factories, factories became corporations, corporations became investment portfolios. The specific assets changed, but the strategy stayed the same. Ownership creates compounding. The profits from one asset can be used to buy another. The new asset produces more income, which can buy another one, creating a cycle that becomes more powerful over time. It also changes how you see the world. Instead of asking, how can I earn more money this year, you start asking, what can I own that will still be producing value 10 years from now? That shift affects every financial decision. You begin paying attention to businesses instead of just products. You notice who owns the building instead of who rents it. You start seeing brands, software, patents, media, and even websites as assets that can produce cash flow. The goal isn't to own everything. No, the goal is to slowly move from depending entirely on your labor to owning things that work alongside you. Because there comes a point where the assets you've built start working just as hard as you do. And that is when wealth begins to feel less like a paycheck and more like a system. Number 3, learn how to learn. Almost every opportunity in life begins with learning something new. Changing careers, starting a business, moving to another country, learning a language, investing, playing an instrument, or even becoming a better parent all require skills you weren't born with. The internet has made knowledge more accessible than at any other point in history. Thousands of university courses are free. Experts share decades of experience through books, podcasts, and videos. The challenge is no longer finding information. Now it's more like knowing what information to trust, how to absorb it, and how to put it into practice. The world is changing faster than ever. Jobs evolve, technology improves, and entire industries appear almost overnight. The ability to learn quickly has become more valuable than mastering any single tool because today's expertise can easily become outdated tomorrow. Number 4, invest deeply in a few lifelong friendships. As people get older, making new friends becomes surprisingly difficult. School, university, and your first job, they naturally surround you with people your own age, so friendships form almost by accident, more like through circumstance. But adult life is different. People move away, careers become demanding, families grow, and before you know it, years have passed since you last spoke to someone who was once a part of your daily life. That's why lifelong friendships don't survive all on their own. They have to be maintained. The Harvard Study of Adult Development, one of the longest-running studies on happiness ever conducted, found that the quality of your relationships is one of the strongest predictors of health, happiness, and longevity. It wasn't wealth, fame, or intelligence that mattered the most. No, it was having people you could genuinely rely on. And good friends also shape your future in practical ways. They introduce you to new ideas, new opportunities, and sometimes even life-changing relationships. And just as importantly, they will tell you the truth. A real friend notices when you're making a mistake or drifting away from the person you want to become, even when that conversation is uncomfortable. The people closest to you also influence your habits and ambitions. If your friends are curious, disciplined, and optimistic, those qualities gradually become part of your own life. If they're constantly negative or unwilling to grow, well, that mindset can spread just as easily. That's why it's often better to have 5 people you trust completely than 50 people you barely know. Building those friendships takes effort, though. It means checking in, celebrating each other's successes, showing up during difficult times, and making time for people even when your life gets busy. When life becomes difficult, money can solve many problems, but few things are as valuable as knowing there's someone who will answer the phone when you need them. And inside the Alux app, we've got a bunch of coaching lessons and collections about building connections, maintaining them, and deepening them. Making these kinds of bonds in adulthood isn't always easy, but with better EQ, you will get there. So download the app and start your free trial today at Alux.com/app. And once you see the value on the inside, scan this QR code to secure 25% off your membership when that 7-day free trial ends. I'll see you on the inside. In the meantime, number 5, prioritize sleep. When people want to become healthier or more productive, they usually focus on diet, exercise, or working harder. Sleep is often the first thing they sacrifice, even though it supports all 3. While you're asleep, your brain isn't shutting down. No, it is organizing memories, processing information, regulating emotions, and repairing itself. Your body releases growth hormones, strengthens the immune system, and recovers from the physical stress of the day. That's why one good night's sleep can make you feel like a different person. Sleep also influences countless decisions you don't even notice. When you're well rested, you're more likely to exercise, eat healthier, stay patient, and think clearly under pressure. When you're exhausted, small problems feel bigger, temptations become harder to resist, and mistakes become more common. A good night's sleep won't solve every problem, but it gives you the energy, focus, and resilience to solve them yourself. Number 6, protect your attention. Every day, you wake up with a limited amount of attention, and once you've spent it, it's gone forever. That's why so many of today's biggest companies compete for it. Social media platforms, streaming services, news websites, mobile games, even shopping apps are designed to keep you engaged for as long as possible. Their business model literally depends on it. The more time you spend looking at a screen, the more ads you see, the more data they collect, and the more money they make. In other words, your attention has become a product. The problem isn't that these platforms exist. No, the problem is they're incredibly good at what they do. Every notification, recommendation, autoplay video, and infinite feed is designed to make the next click feel effortless. You don't wake up intending to spend an hour scrolling through short videos. No, it simply happens one swipe at a time. Whatever consistently captures your attention slowly shapes your thoughts. Your thoughts influence your decisions become your habits, and your habits eventually become your character. If you spend years consuming outrage, you'll start seeing the world as a hostile place. If you constantly compare yourself to carefully edited versions of other people's lives, you'll begin feeling like you're falling behind. If your attention is scattered across hundreds of tiny interruptions every day, well, deep thinking becomes increasingly difficult, if not impossible. Number 7, learn to cook. Cooking is one of those life skills that seems ordinary until you realize how many parts of your life it touches. The average person eats about 3 meals a day for their entire life. That's tens of thousands of decisions about what goes into your body. If someone else makes every one of those decisions, whether it's a restaurant, a food delivery app, or a frozen meal, you're giving away control over one of the most important parts of your daily life. Restaurant meals are designed to taste unforgettable, so that often means more butter, oil, sugar, and salt than you would ever use at home. When you cook for yourself, healthy eating becomes the default instead of something that you have to consciously chase. On top of that, some of the best conversations happen around a dinner table. Inviting friends over for a homemade meal creates a completely different atmosphere than meeting at a noisy restaurant. Cooking for someone is one of the oldest ways humans have shown care, generosity, and hospitality. For a skill that's used almost every single day, it's hard to think of many investments that offer a better return. Number 8, be comfortable being wrong. People who can change their minds without damaging their ego learn faster, make better decisions, and adapt more easily as the world changes. Every time you discover that one of your beliefs is incorrect, you've replaced a less accurate map of the world with a better one. That might sting for a moment, but it's one of the fastest ways to improve your decisions. If you're afraid of being wrong, you'll ask fewer questions. You'll avoid trying new things. You'll defend bad decisions long after the evidence has changed, because admitting a mistake feels worse than continuing to make one. History is full of examples. Heck, the present day is full of examples. Arguments often become battles because both people are trying to win instead of trying to understand. Imagine how different conversations and the world would be if saying, "You make a good point, I hadn't thought about it that way," was seen as a sign of maturity instead of weakness. Number 9, spend less than you earn. Now, since this is an Alux video, we do have to talk about money for a moment. And one of the most interesting things about money is that it improves your life in stages. At first, every dollar makes a noticeable difference. Moving from a cramped apartment to one with enough space feels amazing. Replacing an unreliable car means fewer breakdowns and less stress. Buying healthier food improves your energy. Paying for heating in the winter or air conditioning in the summer makes everyday life more comfortable. These aren't luxuries, they're meaningful improvements to your quality of life. But eventually something changes. The upgrades stop solving your problems and start adding features. A reliable car becomes a luxury car. A comfortable home becomes a bigger home than you actually need. A nice vacation becomes business class, then first class, then a private villa. The experience is still better, just not proportionally better. This is where lifestyle inflation quietly begins, because once your basic needs and comforts are covered, your definition of normal starts to move upward. There are countless ways to spend more money, often for no reason other than the promise that it's somehow better. The perfectly good kitchen suddenly feels outdated because somebody else has marble countertops. Your car still gets you everywhere you need to go, but now it doesn't have the newest features. The vacation that would have thrilled you 5 years ago starts to feel basic because you've seen more luxurious versions of it online. Nothing actually became worse. No, your expectations simply became higher. The problem is that expectations have no natural finish line, and you stop appreciating things for what they are and start noticing what they lack. And number 10, develop genuine curiosity. Modern life has become incredibly convenient. An app tells you the fastest route to work, algorithms choose the music you listen to, the videos you watch, the news you read, and even the restaurants you're most likely to enjoy. Little by little, life starts arriving pre-packaged. The next recommendation is already waiting. The next destination has already been calculated. The next opinion has already been selected because people like you usually click on it. It's efficient, but it's quietly replacing one of the most important human instincts: Curiosity. Curiosity is what makes the world feel alive, vibrant. It's the reason children can spend an hour looking at insects or asking questions that adults stopped asking years ago. They haven't learned what's supposed to be interesting yet, so everything has the potential to surprise them. But as we grow older, many of us lose that habit. We stop exploring because routines become comfortable. We stop asking questions because searching takes effort. We stop wandering around because our phones already know where we're going. Eventually, days begin to blend together. People often assume that aging is what makes someone rigid, but more often it's the decision to stop exploring. The moment you believe you've seen enough, learned enough, or understood enough, life begins repeating itself. New experiences become rare because you're no longer searching for them. The world has never been more accessible than it is today. You can learn about almost anything, visit almost anywhere, and talk to people from every culture without leaving your home. The tragedy isn't that knowledge is hard to find, not at all. It's that so many people just stop looking for it. So, Aluxer, protect that curiosity with your life. All right, that's a wrap for today, my friend. We'll see you back here next time. Until then, take care.